Well, we're in the midst of as challenging of a stretch as you can really create, and three of those games being in a road environment, with the one game at home, Wichita State. So this is this maybe simulates one of the more difficult stretch in a conference season too. Difficult road games, top teams. So we're just continuing to try to build on the blueprint and find ways. We made a lot of errors in the Wichita State game. We really dodged a bullet in a number of different ways and managed to make just enough plays in it, but still significant ways to go for us to be competitive with the elite teams like Wichita State, the teams we're about to play. When you're confident, you feel like you can make some shots, then the mind's a pretty powerful thing. And when we're able to win a close game as we were against Wichita State, maybe that's a springboard to having some confidence to finish some games off. But I'd really like to start at the beginning and not get into some of those close games when we've got an 11-point lead with, 6 minutes to go. To me, that shouldn't be a game that you come down to the wire in, and if we don't turn it over and blow our pick and roll coverage on consecutive possessions, it's not. And you make free throws, then what the answer there is that it's not even talked about as a close game. So a lot of different factors go into play, and we're trying to tighten up the ship as well as we can. And I'm still jumping into a lot of this year's. I haven't watched last year's game yet, which we always do, but the game, the threes add up pretty quick, and I know that was a big part of it. Defensively, we were really good in that game, and ball movement was good. So there's a lot of different areas. Specifically, we've got to do a really good job of transition defense. BYU's third in the country in how long it takes them to get a shot off, and it's a fast clip. So we're going to have to be back defensively, get ready to guard, right from the beginning. And they've got some great players, coming off a triple-double, and Haas is obviously as good a guard as there is in the country. So we've got our hands full in a lot of different areas, and the questions keep being posed as far as, what's the big thing that you need to do. And I'm not really good for answering those questions, because there's not, the transition's probably the biggest, and the defensive mindset, but it gets back to what we talked about with all the little things. There's just enough little things in the game, and I think you want to have a lot of precision and concentration throughout the course of a game. And if you do make a mistake, which we will, and you can count on it, because it's not a perfect game, it's the ability to get on to the next play and not make a second mistake. Specifically when you get on the road, I think that's when things kind of mushroom out of control, and that's probably what we were the recipient of a year ago. Big momentum and great student section, and shots were going in, and there was a lot of energy, and we kind of rode that tide to a nice victory. But we don't really pay too much attention to what took place last year. It's more about what we need to focus on this year. With BYU playing a couple bigs and Kansas playing bigs, our offense is not specific to a 4 and 5. Our 4 and 5s do the same thing. So if you know what you're doing at the 5 spot, you're going to have a pretty good idea what you're doing at the 4 spot, with the exception of maybe some out of bounds plays, being in a different spot than you would. So it's not anything that would really throw a curveball to us. It just kind of depends on what the game's calling for specifically. If we're having a hard time defending the interior or rebounding, then it's an opportunity for us. But the majority of teams, and a lot like BYU, they go from 2 bigs pretty quick to 4 smalls on the perimeter. So having a little versatility and be able to match up some of that, and maybe you're not always trying to match up with what the other team's doing, but you have to be able to take advantage of what it is you're doing. So if BYU should decide to go small, that doesn't mean we have to match it. We can go big, and then maybe we're trying to throw the ball into those guys and make it some hay that way. So the thing I'm pleased with is we've got a roster that's versatile, and we're able to maybe make some decisions rather than being set in a certain pattern that we have to follow. It's a great college basketball environment. and certainly it gets revved up when you've got the rivalry game. You know, our place was lit up a year ago under the same circumstances. So, you know, there's always a lot riding on a game. There's a lot of emotion, and the players bring some extra emotion. The fans certainly, you know, get into it, and it's a hostile environment, and you've got to have some patience and poise and kind of stay in the next play and not get caught up in the momentum. As is any home court in America, really, it makes a difference for them. Our home court makes a difference for us, and got to figure out a way to neutralize it with a lot of energy in the building. Well, he's a terrific player and a really solid all-around basketball player, ability to rebound and pass, and he's playing a lot of point guard for their team, and is just a cagey player, and it speaks a great deal for his determination and work ethic to be able to come back as fast as he did. I know, you know, there's players that get back on the court in that time, but basketball's not an easy one to tackle, and it looks to me as though he hasn't really missed much. He might be a little bit lighter, and but he's putting up some big numbers, and you know, I'm happy that he's back in the mix. We didn't play BYU without him, so it's not going to be something new for us. We experienced you know, playing against him all the time, and he's back at it again. So he's going to be one of the key components to whether or not we can be successful there in our ability to shut him down. You know, I'm not getting caught up too much in that, and I've completely removed myself from any kind of social media, and encourage some of our players to do the same, where we you know, really pay close attention to the people in our room and the people within our program, and listen to the positives and negatives from people that we know matter. And so that's, you know, that's something externally maybe that's going on, but as far as we're concerned, we're pretty much in the moment with what we have in front of us, and not getting caught up in you know, the huge rivalry and maybe what was missing in football. Well, I respect the heck out of Dave Rose and what he's done with his program, and the way he carries himself and so forth. You know, I think mutual respect has a lot more to do than what I think. You know, it's a rivalry, and it's supposed to stir up some emotions, and you know, I think you're fooling yourself if you talk too much about how much we respect each other, because at the end of the day, it's like playing somebody you want to, you know, cordial and everything off the court and in the summer recruiting, but at the end of the day, it's an awfully big game. We both want to whip up on each other. So that's kind of the nature of sports. I think there's relationships built in, but it's still very much about winning the game.